Hello, 8th grade. So last week we worked on addition and subtraction in scientific notation, and we're going to start this week by multiplying and dividing. So if you want to write that at the top of your paper, and then we can get started. Okay, so let's begin with just a quick review on the commutative property of multiplication. The commutative property says that you can multiply, when you have a bunch of factors, you can multiply them in any order. So say we had 3 times 4 times 2 times 5. It doesn't matter what order I do this in, right? I could do 4 times 5 is 20, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 20 is 120. Or I could do 2 times 5 is 10, 3 times 4 is 12, 12 times 10 is 120, right? You get the same result regardless. And that's going to be important today as we multiply products that are in scientific notation. So let's look at this problem. It says 2 times 10 to the 4th power times the quantity of 4 times 10 to the 8th power. So there are 4 factors here. And again, we can rearrange them any way we want to make it easy to multiply. So probably what might occur to you is that it would be good to put the coefficients together and the powers of 10 together. So we could do 2 times 4 first, and then we could do 10 to the 4th times 10 to the 8th. And by doing that, we can multiply 2 times 4 is 8, 10 to the 4th times 10 to the 8th is 10 to the 12th power. And we want our result to be in scientific notation. So because 8 as a coefficient is between 1 and 10, we are in scientific notation. So write this one down. 6 times 10 to the negative 4th power times 5 times 10 to the negative 8th power. So the idea is the same. If you have negative powers of 10, you can still rearrange the problem, put the coefficients together, multiply those first, then multiply the powers of 10. So 6 times 5 is 30. 10 to the 4th times 10 to the negative 8 would be 10 to the negative 12th, right? Because we're going to add those exponents of negative 4 and negative 8. Now, we are not done on this problem because we are not in scientific notation yet. We need 30 to be expressed as 3 times the power of 10. Now, in order to make 33, I have to divide it by 10, which means I would then multiply the other product or the other factor by 10. So 10 to the negative 12th times 10 to the 1st would be, I'm going to add 1 to negative 12, which would give us 10 to the negative 11th power. Now we have a product that's written in scientific notation, and that will work. So jot this one down. This one's a little hairier because we have decimals that we have to multiply, and we have a positive and a negative power of 10. So again, let's do the coefficients first. So we would do 1.67 times 2.7, and I'm going to just line this up. Remember, when we multiply decimals, we just shift off, well, we move all the digits to the right together, and we're just going to multiply, and then we're going to count the decimal places and place the decimal where it goes. So we're going to ignore the decimals to begin with. So 7 times 7 is 49, 6 times 7 is 42, plus 4 is 46. 1 times 7 plus 4 is 11. I'm going to put a 0 down here, placeholder. 2 times 7 is 14. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. And 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3. 9, 10, 5. Okay, now our problem, though, has 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So we're going to have 3 decimal places in our answer there. So we're going to have 4.509, which is great because that means it's already set up for scientific notation. So now we just need the power of 10 that goes with it. And if we multiply 10 to the negative 24th times 10 to the 15th, we're going to add those exponents. Negative 24 plus 15 would be negative 9. And so here we go. We have a product that's written in scientific notation. Okay, so let's consider division. Division is the same idea. If we divide the coefficients, then we can divide the powers of 10. So a lot of times you'll see division written this way, but I really prefer to see it as a fraction. So I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to keep the 2 7/10 times 10 to the 4th, but I'm going to divide it by 9 times 10 to the 3rd this way. And then I'm going to get rid of the parentheses, because then it's a little bit easier to see. So what we want to do is really we're simplifying. This division problem is really a simplifying problem. So I can see that 10 to the 4th power divided by 10 to the 3rd. If when we multiply powers of 10, we add the exponents, when we divide them, we would subtract. So 10 to the 4th divided by 10 to the 3rd would be 10 to the 1st power. So now all we have to do is divide the coefficients. So you might recognize that 27 is a multiple of 9. So you just have to think about the decimal. So if you set it up like this, the decimal's there, right? So it's 3/10 times 10 to the 1st. Now that is not scientific notation, so we need to make an adjustment. So we need to multiply this times 10 in order for it to get to the ones place, which means we're going to divide this by 10. And that would be 10 to the 1st divided by 10 to the 1st is 10 to the 0 power. That is still scientific notation because it does have a power of 10, whose value is 1, but we do want it written as a product when you talk about scientific notation. All right, let's try this one. 2 times 10 to the 4th divided by 4 times 10 to the 8th. Again, we're just really simplifying. 2 divided by 4, you might recognize that as 2/4, which is 1/2, which is equal to 5/10. Now, if you don't recognize that and you need to do the division, it's 2 divided by 4. We need to add a decimal point and a 0, and now 4 goes into 25 times. That's how you get 5/10 there. Now, what about the power of 10? 10 to the 4th divided by 10 to the 8th. 4 minus 8 is -4, 10 to the -4th. But we are not scientific notation yet. So we need to multiply the coefficient by 10 so that that 5 shifts over one place to get to the ones. And that means we need to divide this by a power of 10. So 10 to the negative, this is 10 to the 1st. 10 to the -4th divided by 10 to the 1st, we're going to subtract. So -4 minus 1 would be -5. There you go. So that is multiplying and dividing in scientific notation. I've attached some practice problems for you. Give it a try, and we will practice this more in our Zoom class on Tuesday.